Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Taking Up Space, a Michelle A. Mayer podcast. Always excited about coming forward, y'all. Today is absolutely, positively no different. I know I had came on a little while ago while I was cooking, and so I am back on again. I'm doing my podcast. I want to share some thoughts and feelings with you guys regarding some things. You know, during the podcast, I was speaking to y'all about knowing. I don't know how I got to be able to hammer this in because it's so monumentally important. We're living in a time in which it is vitally important that we all understand and know the truths of our own existence, y'all. This is the time we're living in. It's not anyone's job to inform you. It's a luxury. Honestly, it really is a luxury for someone to do the work and to gather all the information because, truth be told, the levels of information that you must gather to really form a full body or a full perspective on a thing, you've got to gather from a number from a number of places. You don't find this information in one space. All the things that I expound upon with y'all, it has taken a full lifetime for me to gather. It wasn't as if I could just gather it and, okay, I know it. I had to gather it, ponder it, and then walk life and allow it to show itself in my life so I could know it. I know these things because I've walked life's paths, and I have interacted with these things. They've been tested. They've been proven. Thank you, friend. Thank you for that. So it's not a hypothetical. It's not, I read it somewhere, so I'm going to depend on someone else to legitimize this. I legitimize it. And it goes back to what I was speaking to y'all earlier about Googling. I don't want anybody to ever feel ashamed of Googling anything. A lot of times in today's society, we get peer pressured out of things that could actually be resources to us. We allow people to peer pressure us, shame us for using things to assist us in being great. You might have the right perspective on a thing, but you may need to brush up on it just for a moment on some key factors. Why not type in that key point of interest into a Google search bar and see what it gets you? And then allow what it tells you to resonate within you and cross-reference what you already know. Allow you to remember. You legitimize that information. I'm not saying for you to use Google as just the all-in-all educational resource. But even if you did, friend, what's the difference from doing that and going to Barnes & Noble or Target or Amazon or any other bookstore or library and buying a book from someone that you've never met, written by someone you've never met, about a topic you don't know about? What's the difference, friend? I really want somebody to help me understand that. What is the difference? Who's to say that the author of that book is not incorrect? It's not like there's some association that the books are all run through to make sure that they're legitimate. There is not. Anybody can write a book. Anybody. Somebody could create a book intentionally filled with lies and put an elaborate title and an elaborate display image artwork on it and sell it. And it would be up to the public, the people, to be able to read it and cross-reference it with what? Their internal knowing, their life experiences in that thing. To be able to say, this is truthful, this is 100% truthful, or this is a lie. It's the same way with Google, YouTube, and all of the rest of them. So there is no shame. Thank you, Buka. Good evening to you. There is no shame in using any of these search engines or any point of reference, whether it's watching a YouTube video. People will try to shame you in that. They're always going to try to find something to shame you in. You've got to know. Friend, the same person that created the YouTube video could have written a book. They just chose to speak what they are conveying rather than write it. Same information, different output method. Yet, in order for you to understand fully, and most importantly, in order for you to trust that what you are reading is correct, or what you are listening to is correct, you've got to know aspects of that thing yourself. And this is where knowing comes in, and this is why knowing is so monumentally important, y'all. I was talking to someone today at a local coffee shop that I go to, and this gentleman was concerned as to, thank you, friend, as to thank you, why, well, how do we know that the things written in the Bible or in the various spiritual books across the nation are truthful? How do we know that? And I had to tell him, how do you know that they're not? You must first read the book. You got to read it. And then you've got to go about life and pondering it. And then allowing it to show itself to you, because it will do that. That is the beauty of the Bible. One thing for sure that I know about is that when you read the Bible, whenever you engage with it consistently, whenever you set aside time to read it, it meets you right there. It's as if it was waiting on you. And it begins to form a cohesive connection to you, so that the words that you're reading become relevant in your life. They go from theory to real world perspectives. They meet your yearning. It's as if the words written within the book, the Bible, search you, and they determine your level of yearning for its truth. And it begins to show its truth to you along your path in life. That's the power of this book. This book is not theoretical. I mean, you could make it that, depending upon the spirit you have when you approach it. It is a conscious essence. Literally. When it captures you in the form of fascination, imagination, and yearning. It meets your desire. It searches for your desire of it. It wants to know, do you want to know it? Literally, it does this. And it will search you for whatever that level is. And it will begin to show the truths of itself to you along your path in real time, in real life. Friend, reading your Bible will cover you like a force field nothing else in this life can penetrate. Just as God covered these children like no one else could cover them in this life, when you begin to read this book and you truly approach it with the right spirit, not the spirit of manipulation, you're going to play games with yourself. You're only going to waste your time. But when you come before it with a humble and a authentic yearning to know, when you really want to know, you approach it from that perspective, it sings its song to you. It's like an elderly person in your family that when you walk into their house, it has that warm, fuzzy feeling, and you know you're loved. I'm not trying to create imagery based upon fantasy and solicitation. That is not this. I'm only speaking from my perspective because I can only pull from my experiences. And when I first began reading my Bible, this was the draw to it. I was living a worldly life. Dating street guys, drug dealers, trying to compete with other girls and keep up and look like everybody else and have the things that everybody else had and go to all the good restaurants and wear all the nice clothes and have the nice apartment. But in my downtime, my real time, I needed my connection with God just so that I could keep going out and facing the ups and downs that I faced, to give me the courage to compete, because it was draining. Trying to keep up and fit in to things that I didn't really truly feel that I fit into. It was draining. And during those seasons, those spells that I would have where I would huddle up in my apartment, and on Saturday morning I just lay there reading my Bible. Monday, go to work, get off work, read my Bible. It was like I was locked in. And friends, and the more I locked in, the more I could feel it covering me, like a loving hug. Literally. And the more I stayed consistent to that, the stronger that loving hug became. It was only when I would deviate away from that, when I would put my study time down and I would go out, hang out at the bars and at the clubs and be having hangovers and socializing and not having time for that study time, that things began to chip away and fall apart until things began to really fall apart and I needed to get them back together again. And here I come back to my spiritual practices, my reading my Bible and going to church on Sundays. Until one day I said, I remember this distinctively. You keep going back only when things are going bad for you. What if you just made it your point to just stay in this? if you just kept what feels so good to you going and incorporated everything else into that as you could? But see, I couldn't do that. I couldn't live the life I was living and follow this spiritual pattern that I had adopted. I had to give up one for sake of the other. And I did. I chose the world until all hell broke loose. Literally. All hell broke loose. Until all the things that I thought were so great, the reputation and the appearances and the trinkets and the materialization and the competing and the looks and all that kind of stuff didn't matter. I still had all of that. Or at least what it took to get it back, even if I lost the material possessions of it, or some of them. But it was as if they didn't even matter. God will sit me in a corner, friend, in front of everybody. Rearrange my entire life. Reinvent me. And this reinvention would happen over and over and over again. And God will do the same thing for you. And my reinventions, each time that they have come upon me, have made me better. They were catastrophic and chaotic, but they made me so much better. So much better. I say all of this to say to you, not to speak to myself, because I use myself as an example only because I have no other examples to pull from. Anything else that I pull from, I'm hypothetically speaking to because I don't truly know it, or I would be manufacturing it, and I don't manufacture. This conversation is about knowing versus following or being told. It is not your pastor's job to give you the condensed version of your Bible. Because what your pastor will think is important may not be important to your walk. There will be certain things that the pastor will not include in the Sunday service or in the weekly Bible study that you will need to know. Just as there are aspects to any written book that you read that are not outlined on the last page of the book when you're in the bookstore buying it. It's the same way with the Bible. It's for you to know it. And even though people say this all the time, the Bible has been rewritten and how do we trust it? And you trust everything else. But one thing I have found that has been so magnetizing about the Bible is that even though it's been rewritten a bunch of times, friend, don't let that dissuade you. That's the enemy looking to cause you to feel doubt or to discredit what can bless your life. You must trust that it was written with so much wisdom. Friend, I'm telling you, it was written with so much wisdom that even if they change some wording around, when you begin reading it, you set aside time throughout your day, throughout your week, and create a pattern and aligning to it. It will show you its truth. It is a deeply mystical book. You've got to get out of religion. And there's nothing wrong with religion. When I say get out of religion, meaning you've got to get out of the thought form of depending on the pastor to tell you the story of God. You've got to go at it on your own. You've got to be proactively needful of all that it has, that you have the courage and the discipline enough to open it up and read it, underline some stuff, highlight it, and then meditate on it. When you're in there cooking you some dinner, meditate on what you read and imagine what it means and what it must have been like. Think about what it's like, how it cross-references with your life. This is where the magic of it happens. I know these words that I'm saying sound kind of iffy, but this is the story of this. This is the foundation of this book. This is the only way that it sings to you. It wants you to engage with it consistently. Anything of God requires consistency, y'all. Hey, friend. It requires dedication. That's the only way that the force field can be activated. It's through dedication. What do I mean by force field? So, have you ever, how do I say it? Have you ever looked at a flame? Remember, when Elijah came upon the prophets of Baal and the prophets of Asherah and waged war with them, what was it that he asked them to do? What was a single aspect of this challenge? It was, who can call upon their God to bring fire down from heaven? This is the God of fire. Friend, Moses at the burning bush, fire. The prophets of Baal and the prophets of Asherah could not do it, no matter what they did. They couldn't match God's power. Surely they were powerful. These gods are powerful. And these prophets have the ingenuity and the spiritual prowess to call upon them to do whatever they can within their capacity. The god Baal and the god Asherah could not bring the fire down because they didn't have the power to do it. It wasn't that they didn't want to. They didn't have it. Your enemies will wage war with you in every direction they can, within their reach. But when you are aligned to power, they will not have the tools needed to do it. This is exactly what was being conveyed with Elijah waging war with the prophets of Baal and the prophets of Asherah. I bring that up because when you look at fire, if you've ever looked at a flame, you will find that when you look closely at a single flame, there's this field going around it. If you look closely enough, it's a field going around. It's like two circles kind of overlapping, and the flame is in the middle. That is called a Torus field. We, all of us, in spirit, are Torus fields. Our flame, we all have a light that emanates from deep within us. And these fields, this Torus field is a protector of that light. It's an energy field that flows from within outward, and it constantly revolves itself round and round about itself, constantly moving. It's an energetic field, self-sustaining. And the more aligned you are, the stronger the field, because the field all terminates upon the central axis point, that central vertical line that covers all, that is in the middle of all of us. These two fields overlap it. So when you hear of the Christ consciousness and Jesus speaking to the things needed to stay aligned and properly strengthened within and to this axis, he's speaking to this field, this self-sustaining field. This is why Jesus was not needy. He didn't need for nothing, friend. All of those that are closely aligned to this consciousness and that are centrally aligned to this axis point, they are not needy. They're self-sustaining because God created it that way. It is your birthright to be such. In this self-sustaining field keeps you pure. It's self-regulating. So when you say self-sustaining, that means that encompasses everything that sustains you. It's self-regulating. It doesn't need anything outside of itself. The more you ascend internally, the stronger the field gets. And it is through your ascent in your thinking, your actions and your thinking are all in alignment with one another. The words that you say and your actions are all in alignment. You are not contradicting yourself. You are not cursing yourself. I know many of you say, oh, when you cuss, I'll talk to someone today, and we were talking about this. When you cuss, you think you're cursing. No. You look down on people that use cuss words. But the same people that are looking down on people that use cuss words curse themselves all day long and don't feel nothing. You curse yourself by negative talk, by self-defeating mindsets. You sabotage yourself. Using colorful vernacular sometimes is necessary. I'm working on it. I'm working on not using colorful vernacular. But I'm surely not out here cursing myself. It's a difference. And your alignment to the central access point by way of this Torus field allows you to overcome those things because your consciousness and your actions are in alignment. If they are not, then your field is weakened. You don't partake of the gifts that come with such alignment in as much abundance as you would had you been in alignment. Self-regulating, self-sustaining field. It will manage itself. You don't need to go and listen to someone else tell you about you. You will know you. If anything, you congregate with people because you understand that through multiplication of like-minded people maximizes the energy. But you don't need that. You are not needful of that. It is like having a dessert after you've had a full course meal. You're guaranteed the full course meal. The dessert is optional. It is the same way with anything having to do with congregating with people while in alignment to the powers vested unto you by way of this Torus field and this Christ consciousness from God. And this Taurus field acts as these moving donuts, if you want to call them. The guy said donut, but he's made me think of a donut of energy. They're always moving. So in its ability to regulate itself and to sustain itself, it keeps you fresh. It keeps you new. Why? Because you're always moving into a new area. It doesn't rewind. There's no reverse in this vehicle. This vehicle don't go in reverse, friend. It's only forward in this. Thank you, friend. And in that, you are always off to some new beginning. And what does that do? I said this yesterday. It doesn't allow ego to set in, which is very important. You don't have enough time to park and to reflect back and say, oh, look at all I've done. How great is this? It was just me that did it. Nobody came and nobody did this and nobody did that. I just did it all on my own and it was difficult, but I did. You don't have time for that. Because now you're moving into some new area. It's constant progression. It's constant states of newness. No room for ego. Perpetual newness. All from aligning, friend, to the Word of God. It all begins, friend, I'm telling you, I can only speak from my perspective. And it has been me picking up my Bible. And a lot of times just, where is it going to open to? Where am I going to read from today? Father, show me, where do you want me to begin today? And look at what the book of Psalms. And just reading. And not approaching it with the spirit of work and I'm just doing this because I want to make something come to me. But approaching it from a spirit of inquisitiveness, fascination, desire to know. And after a time, I don't know how long it's going to be, it will show itself in your life. You will feel it. This is not a God of theory. This is an action-oriented God. You will see a result in your life. I'm here to tell you. And the further you go along this road, the more you will graduate into. You will go and you will become enamored with reading and aligning and searching for truth, both in this book and in other areas. You will begin writing notes and affirmations for yourself. I used to post things all over my house, all over my apartment when I was living in Georgia. I would post them. One thing I used to post all the time, or I would read all the time. Don't be blown to and fro by the changing winds of circumstance. I used to read that and remember the promises of God whenever things would come up and I would be worried about them as a single mom, or even just in general. Don't get blown back and forth by the changing winds of circumstance. Friends, circumstances going to change all the time. You can't be blown by them. Stand your ground. Remember the promises of God, and I will immediately be lifted. And then you will go on further journeys and you will pick up new tricks. You will learn how to program your mind and your thinking so that when trouble comes, you will have a defense to them. This is the way of God, friend. God will prepare you before trouble comes. You will see it. And God will show you things because you are aligned so closely that you need to implement to prepare yourself to overcome those troubles that will come, but you won't know that that's what they are there for. They will come in the form of fascinations, friend, always. For me, it has been that. And if you're wise and you listen, you will begin implementing them because they will be useful to you in future seasons of your life. I cannot tell you how many things God has shown me before they came, or even God gave me tools to use to overcome problems that will come in future days that I knew nothing of. Had I turned those tools down and not really focused on them, had I not been inquisitive of them, I would not have aligned to them, and I would not have had any tools to help me through what will come further down the line. These are things I'm telling y'all. You need them. You need, all your answers come from within you. They come from within the quiet moments you have with yourself. It could be in the morning when you wake up and you have that quiet time and you reflect upon your yesterdays, or you look at your now, or you think about your tomorrow. It's in those moments. It's in that quiet time when you're in the car driving home from work and you got the radio off. Turn it off. Sit in some silence. Rest within the silence of your own environment. What better area to be able to rest within than the silence of your own car? That's your sanctuary. You impregnate that air with your own words and your own vibration. That's yours. You've got to make everything serve you, friend. Everything. And in doing so, you will come to know that everything I tell you is truthful. You will know. You will not believe it. You will not think it sounds good. You will be able to say, that is truthful. But as I've said, it all begins with opening this book. It has been for me. That's my story. And I'm just here testifying to my story. Lastly, I want to say that we live in a world, y'all, where everybody is not the same. The majority of us are. But there's a small percentage that are not, and they're here to be distractors. You've got to know that. They are here to make it difficult for you to reach your result. They're the opposition. They must be here, friend. Or else this will be a cakewalk. What will be the meaning of it? They've got to do their part. But you've got to stay on track. You've got to stay in the center of your own universe and move down your own path regardless to them. You've got to rack up as many points on your own board as you can while you are in the game. And not piggyback on somebody else's agenda that was created to be a distractor. Thank you, friend. Thank you. You must know this. These are very important. These things are very important, rather. Because there will be no one responsible for your activity, but you. God is not going to want to hear, well, what had happened was that all these things came and I was confused and I didn't know. How did you not know? Well, I didn't believe that the Bible was true because somebody said, just like we had somebody just come on here in the comments. After I said all of that, they come and they say, that's fake. End the live, please. Don't listen. Now that could be taken a number of ways. But there will be distractions. There's going to always be somebody that throws something in there to make you feel like it's not what it should be. And so I'm not going to pay attention. You're responsible. It's not anybody's responsibility to give you the condensed version of this book. It's for you to pop it open and do just like they did and read it so that nobody can fool you. Because they are trying to fool you, friend. Intentionally or unintentionally. But in order for you to know that you're not being fooled, you've got to connect. It's your job. And these are the things God, the Creator, will expect from you. Especially if a mundane human being will expect it. What do you think the Creator of all of this will expect? He knows your capacity. One thing in spirit, y'all, that I have learned, they don't care nothing about your emotions, friend. Friend, do you not know that I have found myself in some highly chaotic, frightening situations that if I could have manipulated my way out of it, trying to be sexy, if I could have got sexy and got out of it, I would have got sexy, friend. If I could have been the damsel in distress, Little Red Riding Hood, I'd have been her. They don't care anything about that. God does not, you can't manipulate God. You can't pouty eye God. God, I didn't know. You can't do him like you would do your dad or your mom. You can't. I've been in some situations, friend, where I would have thought that they would have had some mercy on me because I was a woman. I got a vagina. What happened to that? What happened to the love here? I mean, dang, I'm giving birth to the nation. I got a child. They don't care nothing about that. They don't care. These are things you need to know. Nobody cares about that. And the quicker you realize that, because a lot of times we tiptoe with things because we think we can manipulate our way out of stuff. Once you realize at the end of the day, when things get real, that there are levels that none of that stuff will matter, then you will let your light shine, friend. You'll come out the shadows and you will show them who you are. And you won't expect no favors. You won't need to be somebody's friend. You won't expect a hookup. Because you've been drawn and trained the hard way. It was the loveless situations that taught me how to be who I am. It was the not showing love. It was the rejection that cultivated me into being able to step out of the shadows and command my presence and not expect anybody to agree or disagree. Not get caught up in all of that, but still deliver effectively. To figure out while I was in the shadows, what is effective? What do I need to pull from when I step out into the light to get what I need done? And to step out into the light and to just put that out on the table. It was the hard stuff. It wasn't the manipulations. The manipulations kept me in the shadows, wasting time, playing around. It was when the manipulations were not able to be utilized anymore. It was the no love. In that aspect. It was the refusal to allow the love to be manipulated that brought me out into the light, adamant and serious. These are the things. And I just come forth to tell you guys aspects of things that I experienced and what worked. Because I wish somebody would have did it for me. It would have been nice to have had it. And even though they didn't do it in that way for me, in the way they did it, that helped me, gives me the spirit to give back, to be able to search that situation and say, what would I have liked to happen? And to be that to somebody else. This is that. All is well. Well, this is all I have for you today. Looking to be more active on here and find my way. And determine what's effective and what's not. That's the biggest challenge for me, is finding what's effective versus what's not. Or let's just say what I think is effective. Because just like coming on while I was in there in the kitchen, I didn't think that was going to be effective. So I was like, why would I do that? But then something said, just get up and do it. So I'll be doing more things, testing things out in that manner. I love y'all. I do. And I hope you love yourselves. Love yourselves enough to know how to connect with power. And it is not my job to tell you what power to connect to. That ain't my job. But I'm sure telling you that the power that I connect to is all wrapped up in this book. And it has been the only power that has been able to assist me. And I have been through some monumental things. And yes, we'll leave it at that. You'll love more than you'll ever know. Be good to yourselves and be good to one another. Peace and love.